You scream, I scream, we all scream for the secret to creamy, smooth, Parlor-Quality ice cream at home. The secret to good old-fashioned homemade ice cream isn't in your grandmother's recipe book. Frozen desserts have been around for thousands of years in one form or another. Ancient cultures from Persia to China mix snow and ice with fruit, syrups, herbs, and honey, kind of like an ancient slushie. In Persia, these chilled drinks were called sharbat. Sound familiar? By the 1600s, frozen desserts had spread across Europe, where wealthy Italians in Florence began experimenting with milk, cream, and sugar to create the early versions of gelato. But the creamy churned ice cream we know today really took off in America during the 1800s, when a woman named Nancy Johnson patented the hand-cranked ice cream freezer. For the first time, home cooks could continuously churn ice cream as it froze, creating smaller ice crystals and a smoother, creamier scoop. Combined with advances in mechanical refrigeration, ice cream suddenly became smoother, creamier, and accessible to everyday people, not just royalty. Perfect ice cream comes down to balance, specifically the balance between fat, sugar, water, and air. Getting that balance right is what separates creamy, scoopable ice cream from an icy freezer brick. Water is the tricky part. When water freezes, it forms ice crystals. And if those ice crystals get too big, your ice cream turns grainy and crunchy instead of smooth and creamy. So, the goal of modern ice cream making is actually controlling ice crystal size. Fat gives ice cream richness and body. Sugar adds sweetness, but it also acts like an antifreeze, keeping the ice cream soft enough to scoop. As ice cream churns, air gets whipped into the base, creating a lighter texture. This is called overrun. Too little air and ice cream becomes dense and heavy. Too much and it starts tasting fluffy and cheap. Premium ice cream brands usually have less air, giving them a richer texture. Custard, gelato, ice cream. They all taste delicious, but what actually makes them different? Custard ice cream, sometimes called French-style ice cream, is the richest and most traditional style. It uses egg yolks to help bind fat and water together, creating an extra rich, creamy texture that melts more slowly. But egg yolks also add a distinct custardy flavor that can sometimes overpower more delicate ingredients. American ice cream, sometimes called Philadelphia-style ice cream, skips the egg completely. Instead, it relies mostly on milk, cream, and sugar for a cleaner, lighter dairy flavor that lets ingredients like chocolate, fruit, or vanilla shine through. It usually contains more air whipped in during churning, creating a softer, fluffier texture. Gelato is a style of Italian ice cream. It usually contains more milk, less cream, and less air than American ice cream, giving it a denser, silkier texture. For years, the best homemade ice cream was usually French-style custard. And look, custard is great, but modern ice cream makers discovered that if you really want ultra-smooth, professional-quality ice cream at home, you need to start learning about stabilizers. Don't worry, they sound scarier than they actually are. It's okay, we'll hold your hand as we talk you through it. Modern ice cream makers use ingredients like xanthan gum, milk powder, corn syrup, or cornstarch to control ice crystal growth and create a smoother, creamier texture. If you've ever bought an ice cream from a grocery store, chances are you've already eaten these ingredients hundreds of times before. Water naturally wants to freeze into large, crunchy ice crystals. Stabilizers help interrupt that process by binding water and improving the structure of the ice cream. That means smoother scoops, less iciness, and ice cream that stays creamy longer in the freezer. Shout out to pioneers like Jenny from Jenny's Splendid Ice Cream and Tyler Malik from Salt and Straw for helping to share these culinary secrets with the masses. There are millions of different flavors of ice cream. Vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry are still the most popular flavors in the US. But the fun of making ice cream at home is getting to create the exact flavor of your dreams. Hot Cheeto ice cream? Psychotic, but technically possible. The main thing to keep in mind when adding flavors is how they affect the freezing and texture of the final ice cream. Fresh fruit can be surprisingly tricky because fruit contains a lot of water. And remember, water is the enemy of creamy ice cream. If you simply blend raw strawberries or peaches directly into your base, that extra water can freeze into icy crystals and make the texture grainy instead of smooth. That's why many professional ice cream makers cook fruit down first into jams and syrups. It removes excess water texture while concentrating flavors at the same time. Chocolate is actually one of the easiest flavors to work with because cocoa powder contains very little water and adds deep flavor without dramatically changing the texture of the base, which is exactly why today we're making a malted chocolate marshmallow ice cream using a Philadelphia-style base, which means no eggs. Instead, we're using a combination of milk powder, cornstarch, and corn syrup to help create that ultra-smooth scoop shop texture. First, we whisk together our dry ingredients: malted milk powder, Ovaltine, cocoa powder, sugar, espresso powder, and salt. The malted milk powder adds this deep, toasty dairy flavor that makes the ice cream taste extra nostalgic, kind of like the best diner milkshake you've ever had. Then we heat our milk, cream, and corn syrup together before whisking in all the dry ingredients. Corn syrup gets a bad reputation sometimes, but in ice cream, it's actually incredibly useful. It helps prevent large ice crystals from forming, so don't be afraid to use it. Once the base is hot and fully combined, we add a cornstarch slurry. Cornstarch acts as a stabilizer by thickening the water inside the base, making it even harder for ice crystals to grow. Then, finally, pure chocolate. We're adding chopped dark chocolate for richness and gloss, plus a little vanilla to round everything out. Once everything is melted and silky smooth, strain the base to catch any lumps. Now comes one of the hardest parts of making ice cream at home: waiting. Before we churn this base, we want to let it rest in the fridge overnight. This gives the flavors time to fully develop and mellow together. Kind of like how leftover chili always tastes better the day after you make it. Can you churn the base right away? Sure. Will it still taste good? Absolutely. But if you want dreamy, creamy ice cream, you have to let it rest. Patience is part of the recipe. Before modern countertop ice cream machines, homemade ice cream was usually made in wooden bucket churns like this one. The basic idea is surprisingly simple. A metal canister of ice cream base sits inside a bucket packed with ice and rock salt while a paddle continuously churns the mixture. The salt lowers the freezing temperature of the ice, allowing the canister to get cold enough to actually freeze the ice cream. Honestly, these machines are kind of a pain to use. They're big, messy, loud, and require a small mountain of ice. Canister-style ice cream maker. Inside the walls of the bowl is a special coolant liquid that freezes solid after spending about 24 hours in your freezer. These machines are affordable, compact, and honestly, make surprisingly great ice cream. The biggest downside is planning ahead. If your freezer bowl isn't fully frozen, you're not making ice cream today. And then there's the luxury option: compressor ice cream maker. Compressor ice cream makers have a built-in refrigeration system, basically a tiny freezer inside the machine itself. That means no pre-freezing bowls, no bags of ice, and no waiting overnight. You just turn it on, pour in your base, and start churning. Whichever machine you end up using, the recipe for what you put inside stays the same. Churning does two really important things at the same time. First, it breaks up ice crystals as they form. Second, it whips tiny pockets of air into the base, giving ice cream that light, creamy, scoopable texture we all know and love. You'll know it's ready when the ice cream holds its shape on the paddle and leaves ribbons as it folds back onto itself. About 20 to 30 minutes of churn time. Just don't wait for it to become fully scoopable in the machine. If you churn too long, the texture can actually become grainy and buttery. Soft serve consistency is the sweet spot. The freezer will finish the job from there. But before that, one of the best parts of homemade ice cream? Mix-ins. The key with mix-ins is texture. You want contrast, crunchy things, gooey things, chewy things, little surprises hiding in the scoop. But you also have to think about how things freeze. Some mix-ins freeze rock solid in the freezer. Others stay perfectly soft and gooey. For our chocolate ice cream, we're going with marshmallow fluff. But straight out of the jar, it's actually a little too thick to swirl in properly. So we loosen it with a little warm, simple syrup until it becomes smooth, glossy, and pourable enough to ribbon through the ice cream. The marshmallow stays soft and stretchy even after freezing, which makes it perfect for swirls. We are painfully close to eating this ice cream. Like, technically, you could eat it right now. Would I stop you? No. Would it immediately melt into chocolate soup? Probably. But unfortunately, ice cream is a game of patience. This needs one final freeze before we can officially call it ice cream. This step is called hardening, and it's where the ice cream firms up from soft served into a true scoopable texture. Freeze it for at least 4 to 6 hours, but overnight is even better. You can use any container for this final freeze, but professionals love shallow metal pans because they freeze faster. And the faster ice cream freezes, the smaller the ice crystals stay, which means a smoother final scoop. So now that you know the secrets to make incredible ice cream at home, the only question left is, what flavor are you making first? Cookies and cream? Okay, safe choice. But I think we can get more creative. Cold brew and cereal milk? That sounds expensive in a tiny artisanal pint. Ranch dressing ripple? Oh, my coworker Kelly would love that. Hot dog sundae? Okay, we've gone too far.